Hello, my name is Aditya and welcome to the introduction of data structure and algorithms. In this video, we are going to understand basics concepts of data structure and algorithms and some technical definitions. So, let's get started and make it possible. Well, even though computers can solve millions of mathematical computationals per second, but when problems get large and complicated, performance can nonetheless be an important consideration. One of the most crucial aspects of how quickly performance can be done is completely depends on how data is stored in the memory and fetched out from the memory. So it is believed that data structure and algorithms are the basics of computer science, or you can say it is actual computer science. In most of the cases, people with computer science degrees knows what algorithms. You might already know how to code, but you are not a real developer because you don't know anything about algorithms. So it is very necessary to familiarize yourself with the knowledge of data structure and algorithms. Before moving to the topic, I am going to introduce that data structure and algorithms is said to be DSA in short form. So let's look at here, and it is program development which is classified into two types: data structure and algorithms. Data structures is represent data efficiently, and algorithms is step-by-step procedure to do a task. Data structure and algorithms is made of three words. First is data, another is data structure, and third one is algorithm. So before moving to the data structure, we must first understand what is data. Well, since we are living in the age of data, so it is good idea to familiarize yourself with the best use of data to handle it more efficiently. So if you are watching this video, I am sure that you are pretty much confident about what are the importance of data and privacy in this world, because it is very costly. Data is very costly in today's world. You can understand by an example. Let's take an example of food ordering app. Let's take Zomato. You ordered all the time food from Zomato, then Zomato have all the past orders of your food. So it is said that Zomato knows your choice better, even though anyone else. So what are the use of that data? Why Zomato is keeping that data? It is very useful for many types of business. Like one businessman who wants to open restaurant in your locality, he wants to know what are the preferred choice of this locality of this area, so that he open his restaurant of that choice, so that people came here and eat. So he go to Zomato and take the data of past 1 year from them and open that store. So it gets benefit of both of them. Zomato sell data, your data to them, and they open that type of restaurant in their locality, so that you came there and eat some items. So it is very beneficial for both of them. So you might I hope you understand what are the uses of data. So what is data structure? But before, I want to introduce something like in programming language there are some data types. Like there are many data types, but if I want to store a player's name with their age, let's suppose Virat is the name of players and his age is 28 years. I want to store in this my memory, computer's memory. So this is Virat is a string data type. This is a string data type, and this is 28 years old is integer data type. This is integer data type. So let's understand with an example what are data structures. Suppose you go to library, you want to find a new edition of Python programming book. You go to library and find an area where CS books are available. You go through the books arranged in a chronological order, and you go through the books and find your designated book assigned for Python programming new edition. So in this case, let's suppose consider books as a data, and the order of sorting the books in the library is data structure. So it is data and data structure. So let's move to the technical definition of data structure. So this is the technical definition of data and data structures. Data is just a collection of facts and figures, or you can say data are the values or a set of values that are in a particular format. And this is the technical definition of data structure. Data structures can be defined as an arrangement of a collection of data items so that they can be utilized efficiently and the operations on data can be done efficiently. Like, as I give you an example of library, let's move to another example. So if you want to find a meaning in a dictionary, so in dictionary you will go through the word meanings. So in this case, let's suppose dictionary is not in a sorted manner, means that every meaning is randomly mixed, so it is quite impossible to find a meaning in that dictionary. So it is very necessary to sort that dictionary, and this is a part of algorithms. So before moving to the topic, let's introduce about data structure and its types. So let's move on that topic. So this is the further classification of data structures. Data structure is classified into two types: primitive data structure and non-primitive data structure. Primitive data structure is used in most of the programming languages, and it is subclassified into four types: integer, float, character, and boolean. Integer is used to represent integer without decimal point, and float is used to represent integer with decimal points, and character is used to represent single character like A, B, C, D, this type of things. And in boolean, used to represent logical operations like true, false, either it is true or false. So another classification is non-primitive data structure. It is used to store group of information. It is further classified into two types: linear data structure and non-linear data structure. Linear data structure is follow a specific order, but non-linear data structure does not follow a specific order. And linear data structure is subclassified into four types: array, linked list, a stack, and queue. And in non-linear data structure, it is classified into two types: trees and graphs. Well, you all know companies sell software to make money, like Amazon makes money from e-commerce, AWS. Microsoft makes money from Windows, and Google makes money from Google AdSense. So how this company develops softwares? So they can develop software by software developers who code like you. So what is coding? Coding is basically writing an optimized program to do any task in any language. So how can we optimize our coding? How can we optimize? So my friend, this is the main reason to learning DSA, because by the use of DSA we can make our program more optimized. So let's understand another thing in DSA, that is algorithm. So what is algorithm? A step-by-step process followed to do any task. Let's understand with an example. Let's suppose this is a puzzle in which from A to point B, a person wants to go from A to B, and this is the, you can say, I'm drawing a basic puzzle. So a person whose name is Kishan wants to go from A point to B. He may choose different ways to go, like first he go through this way, in another case he go through this way, and in another one he might go from this way. So basically all the three solutions are correct. Let's suppose algorithm A, 1, 2, 3 are the solutions of going from point A to point B, and let's suppose algorithm 1 and algorithm 2 and algorithm 3. So all the algorithms are correct, but what are the best algorithms in this? How can we find best algorithms? So in this case, the best one is that in which B we take much less time, like we have, in which in that way we have take much less time. So that is the best way to go from point A to point B. So in this case we can find our best algorithm by this method. But how can we judge it in programming language? So there are also two ways to judge is our program is more efficient or not, and that is by running time and memory. Let's understand a basic thing about this. Running time means if program is running in minimum time, or is it securing less space. Then these are the two methods which we can apply in our algorithms to find that is it correct or not. One of the best example of algorithm in our daily life is Google Map. Google Map is completely based on graph algorithm. So have you ever wondered how Google finds the best way to move from your location to any destination which you have selected in that map? So that is only possible by graph algorithm. These are the best example in our daily life we are using. Let's understand the more thing in algorithms. There are many types of algorithms. Some of the examples are searching algorithm. Searching, in this like binary search, linear search, there are many types of searching algorithms. Another one is sorting algorithm, like bubble sort, insertion sort, merge sort. There are many types of sorting algorithms. Update algorithm. Update algorithm. I will give you the basic introduction of everything. Update algorithm, and another one is insert algorithm, and another is delete algorithm. And there are many types of algorithm, but in searching algorithms, let's take an example of an array. If it is stored 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, and if I have to find number 3 in this array, so we can apply searching algorithms like binary search, linear search. These are many ways to find this number. And in sorting algorithm means we have to arrange in any format, like if it is in arranging order, ascending order, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and if it is said to be that any array which is given and we have to sort it in arranging ascending order, so we can apply this. It is already in sorted manner, but if another case that if it is not in sorted manner, we can use sorting algorithms like bubble sort, insert bubble sort. We are using this type of algorithms to sort our algorithms, our array, which is, and which another one is update algorithm. Let's suppose I have an array which is already filled with his elements, but I have to update this array with another one. So we can use update algorithm, and another algorithm is insert algorithm. Let's suppose we have to insert any number in this array, so we can use insert algorithm. And if we want to delete any numbers in this array, so we can use delete algorithm. One thing that you need to remember, that your algorithm must be finite, that it will end at some point. And another thing, algorithm is independent of language. You can use the same concept in any language. Only the script or you can say syntax of that particular language is changed, but the main fundamental thing that are using in sorting, like bubble sort, it is basically same in every language. So it is independent of language. So one more thing that is very important in DSA is time complexity. Time complexity. It is the running time of the algorithm. Let's suppose we have an array of numbers A, B, C, D, E, and we have to sort this, means in ascending order. So we can use different types of algorithms. So it depends on two things. Running time depends on basically two things. One is input size, and another is arrangement. So what is the best case to this algorithm if we want to sort, and what is the worst case? Means if it is already in its sorted manner like 1 2 3 4 5, then it will take less time. But what are the worst case, means bad case, if it is in completely in opposite manner like 5 4 3 2 1, and we have to sort in this manner, so it is most time taken input, and another average time taken will be any random number. But this is the best case in which the algorithm take minimum time, and this is the worst case in which it will take most time. So if we want to understand the basic thing, let me first introduce about one thing. Like it depends on input size. So let's take an example of algorithm and algorithm B. Time complexity of algorithm A at input 10 is 4, and in this case input 10, it's the time complexity of B is also 10. And as we increase the input size like 10, 100, 1000, 10,000, time complexity of A is increased like 6, 20, 28. But in this case time complexity will like 4, and then 5, then 18, then 200, and then 400. So in this case we see that if input size is 10, both the algorithms take same running time, means time complexity is same in both algorithms. But as we increase the input size, the running time increases as input size increases. So in this case algorithm A will be the best choice. So by this we can find our best algorithms. So let's move to the another topic, that is big O notation, how to find big O. But before, I want to give you a basic flow chart which you can use to find big O notation. So I'm going to introduce you about big O. So big O, what is big O and what are the uses? So as I introduce you about time complexity depends on input size, so this will give us a brief idea of how a function is completely depends on which part. So this give a brief idea of how can we find our big O of any function, any algorithm. So it is slow growing to fast growing. You should understand that any constant algorithm means any constant 1 2 3 4 5 whose n is 1 always, and as we increase, like fastest growing function is n factorial. This is the fastest growing. As you have studied in mathematics, the same concept is applied here, like asymptotic behavior, like monotonous function, which increases very fast as input increases. So how fast a function fn grows as n becomes large, this can be found through big O. Express the running time as a function of input size. So this is the basic thing that we can find through big O notation. So let's understand with an example. Let's take an example of fn is equal to 3n square plus 4n plus 15. So in this case we have to find big O, means in this case what are the terms from which the function is dependent, like that. So in this case, as input, let suppose input is equal to 10. So input 10, then 3 into 10 square plus 4 into 10 plus 15. So in this case 85% of the value is coming through this part, and in this case 12% is coming through this, and 5%, around 5% is coming from this. So we can say that majority of the part of fn is coming through 3n square. So in this case big O is n square. If finding big O, we must ignore the coefficient and less dominating thing. We can find through that chart which I have given before, and we should also ignore the coefficient of that function. So in this case big O is n square. So this is the basic thing that we use in Big O, and you can solve many questions on this topic. So here are some more questions on finding Big O of function Tn. So this is algorithm A, function this, and this is algorithm B, function this, and C, D. So in this case we have to find Big O. So I have already given you the chart, you can find through that, but you can see that here NQ is the most dominating factor, and ignore the coefficient. So in this case order of n is equal to NQ. So again moving to algorithm B, so Big O is NQ and another algorithm B. In this case the most dominating part is n square, so order of n, Big O is n square in this case. And in algorithm C the most dominating is n, so ignore the coefficient 5 and order of n is n. And in this algorithm D the most dominating factor is n square, so order of n is n square. So you can find Big O through this method, and I have already given you the chart, you can apply that also. But one more thing that you should remember, that in increasing the input size means if input size is completely doubled, it does not mean that running time will be doubled also. It may be quadrilateral, it may be half, or maybe doubled, anything is happen. So you should remember this, and that's all for now. Thank you for watching.